And I am trying to see if any other council members are here.
So quick question, right? So I'm up for the Fair Housing
Yes,
Committee.
ma'am?
Do I have to stay for the whole meeting? Because I
No,
am
you
at
don't.
work.
No, you
Okay.
don't. As a matter of fact, I think, oh, we're alive. Um, just gonna have to, what number are you on the agenda?
I think
You
I'm number
were
2.
item 2.2, yes. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, let's
Yeah.
see. Um, well, I want to make sure I have another council person with me
Mm-hmm.
so we can have a quorum. Um, but we're gonna get started in because we're live on our
Okay.
public access TV. Um,
Councilman Gale just joined.
oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. So then we have a quorum. Okay, awesome. Wait for him to, oh, he signed on. Yes, I did see him. All right, so let's get started. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to December 16, 2025, special Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Virtual Committee meeting. The meeting can be viewed on multiple platforms, HPA-TV, which can be seen on Comcast and Frontier government channels, channel 96 and 6032, and a plethora of other Facebook page, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon TV. But most of all, if someone misses the meeting, they can always go back and watch the virtual committee meeting, which will be rebroadcast and made available on HPA TV YouTube channel. So again, good evening and welcome. And we have here committee members. We have our co-chair, Councilman John Gale. We have another voting committee member, Councilman Josh Mitchum. And so with having both council members here, we have a quorum. So thank you very, gentlemen, for joining the committee meeting. Let me introduce again myself. I'm Councilwoman Shirley Surgeon, and I'm the co-chair of the Planning, Economic Development and Housing Committee. And I am trying to see who else we have. Uh, do we have our attorney here with us? Uh, Looking down, can't see if we have our attorney for the Planning, Economic Development Housing Committee, but I'm sure he'll join us. Well, it's going to be a long meeting. We have several items on the agenda tonight. And to expedite meeting, there's a couple items which are not ready to be heard in committee. And that is item 2.1, um, which is a resolution sponsored by Councilman Hernandez, Councilman Surgeon, Councilwoman Rossetti, Councilman uh, Thomas Clark, Councilman Rosado, and Assistant Majority Leader Alex Thomas. And so the resolution is directing the Department of Public Works to evaluate and reconfigure bike lanes to support small businesses viability and multimodal safety in the city of Hartford. That item has been on the agenda from April 28, 2025.
Madam Chair, I move to postpone that matter to the next agenda of this committee.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion been properly made and seconded for someone item 2.7.
Your mic is not, is kind of breaking up, Madam Chair.
Is this any better?
Much better.
Okay. I think I've got paper covered the mic, and I think that's why. So seeing and hearing no discussion from the proposal of postponing items 2.1. Those in favor say aye, yay.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the yay has it. Are there any abstention, any the ayes have it, I believe. I gotta change my computer around. And the item will be postponed to the next council meeting. There's one other item on the agenda, that would be item two, which one is it? Items 2.11, by Councilmember Josh Mitchum. It's an ordinance, to provide adequate, relocation services to displaced tenants. It was item 5.1 on the December 8th, 2025 agenda, and that item has been referred to the public hearing for January 20th at 7 p.m. And
Madam
also,
Chair,
yep,
since that hasn't yet had a public hearing, I would move to postpone that as well till the next. Actually, I think it's probably going to end up postponed till the February meeting of the PEDH.
right,
Since it won't, by our January meeting, it still won't have had its public hearing.
exactly.
Can we postpone it like that to February? Do we have to postpone it once and postpone it again?
Yeah, we would need to, because unfortunately
Postpone it to the next meeting then.
postponing to the next meeting.
Second.
Thank you. And so, motion is made and properly second to postpone item 211, due to the public hearing, which will take place on January 20th at 7 p.m., 2026 at 7 p.m. And that will be after the next, PDNH, committee meeting. So are there any discussions? Seeing or hearing no discussion, those in favor of postponing item 211 to the next council meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I have it that items 211 has been postponed to the next council meeting. Okay. So everything else on the agenda, we can, participate in the council and the committee meeting tonight. So let's go to items 2.2. And that is a resolution from Mayor Arulampalam to confirm the appointment of Nelke Maldonado to the Fair Rent Commission. And that was on the agenda from the November 10th, 2025, council meeting. Do we have I believe we do have, Miss Maldonado here.
I'm here.
Thank you, Miss Maldonado. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Would you tell us, I believe also that, everyone on the members have been received a copy of everyone's resume, that regarding appointments to different, committee and boards and commission. So tell us a little bit about yourself and, why do you want to be, appointed to the Fair Rent, Commission?
So I have lived in Hartford for over 35 years. I have also worked in the community since I turned 18. So basically I've seen the struggles. I know what our families go through. They don't have enough money, or they don't have enough jobs to make ends meet. And so they're struggling. In fact, I even work in a halfway house right now. And when the residents leave here, if they're not working at least two jobs, they can't afford an apartment. The rents are increasingly like too high. And so if I can serve just to help and be the voice for those that can't come and voice their own opinion, and they don't know where to come, then at least I'll be able to speak for them and help them out, because the rent, not just in Hartford and everywhere, but it's going up and people just can't afford it. You need 2, 3 jobs in order to provide for your families, and it's crazy.
We certainly do understand. And also, let me also make sure that I do, make note that our attorney for the committee, Attorney Fasalo, is also present at the meeting. And Ms. Maldonado, I believe you are also, filling a spot on the, commission. It's a 4 years appointment, and, you're also a property owner in the city of Hartford.
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, for continuing to volunteer and work in the city. Are there any questions or, from Mrs. Maldonado?
No question.
I have a
For me,
question.
I'm sorry.
Councilman Mitchum has a question, ma'am.
Thank you. And I will say, if you have any questions, you should feel free to ask us. My question, I heard you say you're a property owner. What kind of property is it?
Just a one-family house. It has a small extension to the house, so I rent that. to attend it.
And then you live in the main part.
Yes, and I live in the main part. Correct.
Gotcha. That was my only question.
Oh, yeah.
Ms. Maldonado said she's at work, and so she needs to get back to work. And so I thank her very much for her presence here. We always thank everyone who wants to be a commissioner on our boards on commission, because it is certainly is an extension of the administration, the council that you serve, and let us know what is going on within the community. And I do know from firsthand, I've attended several of the Fair Rent Commission meeting, and it is a commission that is very valuable to the city of Hartford and also to the residents of the city. So thank you so very much for wanting to volunteer.
Thank you
Any,
for having me.
any other comments? See,
Yeah, I have no particular questions for Ms. Maldonado, but just to comment as you did, Madam Chair, that we thank her for stepping forward and hope that she finds her sitting on the Fair Rent Commission to be not only enjoyable but fulfilling. That it it sounds like she feels clearly that there's a need for all of these things to be looked at even-handedly, to be treating everybody fairly, and make sure that our tenants in Hartford are being treated fairly. And if I would just comment that if in the process of working with the Fair Rent Commission, you and your other commissioners feel that there's something the city council could do to assist, then certainly please get back in touch with anybody on the screen and any of the other six council members. I'm sure we'd all like to hear from you. So it's my only comment. And having said that, I will make a motion to send back the appointment with a favorable recommendation to council.
Second.
great. Motion has been made and properly second to send back to the Hartford City Council a favorable recommendation appointing Nelke Maldonado to the Fair Rent Commission. Are there any discussion? Nope, seeing or hearing no discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against? Those abstention? None. Congratulations, Ms. Maldonado, for volunteering your time and for always giving back to the city of Hartford. And I do have to second what Councilman Gale. If you see when you get to the commission, and if we can enhance any ordinance or anything to make the residents of the city of Hartford provide a better living condition, then please reach out to us and let us know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And great congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, back to work now. Thank you.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
Shirley.
Okay, next item on the agenda is items 2.3. And it is a resolution authorizing, it's a resolution from Mayor Aralumpalam authorizing the city of Hartford to purchase the property located at 341-345 Main Street. Who do we have from the administration to speak on this item? I'm sorry, somebody raised, Jeff? No?
Yes, hi, Councilwoman. Jack Benjamin, our Economic Development Director, will be taking it.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't.
He's being a little shy. He's new
Excuse me.
to the gang.
I said yes, and my mic was muted, so excuse me.
Okay, thank you.
Let's just-
I'm using a laptop, so I can't, don't have, that one, the big screen like you guys have in your office.
Okay.
So you can see everyone, in case you want to volunteer. So it's hard for me to see everyone on the screen. So welcome, Mr. Benjamin. First, again, thank you very much for joining the committee. Could you tell us why the city should purchase or approve this purchase of property?
Certainly. So, Jack Benjamin, Economic Development Director for City of Hartford. We started looking at this property initially under the auspices of it becoming a warming center this winter. And for a number of reasons, well, first we were able to work with the diocese to use the church on Capitol Ave, which is serving that area of the city as additional beds from the warming center. So we started looking at it under those auspices, determined that it wouldn't be viable for a number of different reasons. But we were presented with an opportunity to purchase it at a very reasonable $50,000. Our plan at this point is to turn it over at some point, dispose of it via request for proposals process. In the last couple of weeks, I've already entertained interest from a few different parties, including a small business that's on the same block who have interest in renovating it and using it for their offices. Um, We'd be open to a range of proposals. At this point, the zoning in the area is very flexible for commercial or mix of uses. So we could get a variety of proposals back. And we're determined to seek something that's the highest and best use and something that the South Downtown NRZ would support as well.
Okay. Let me also turn this over. And you said $50,000. Is that a fair market price for paying for this property?
It is under what would be considered a fair market price.
Okay, so we purchase it for for 50,000, and then we put it out for bid. So I may assume that someone may be to buy it for more than 50,000.
Most
Back from
likely, we could expect it to garner a fair amount more than that. I think we are going to have to make a determination about the uses and the proposed uses that we get back in the request for proposals process. We'll put together a matrix and evaluation rubric to determine both weight the offer price in addition to the end uses to determine what's the best proposal.
So again, so apparently we will not be using the building then for a warming center going forward,
At least not this winter.
not for this winter. And if you sell it to someone else, so probably going forward.
Correct. If we dispose of it before
Yeah.
the end of 2026, then it will be in private hands.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions? Can't see if anybody's hands is
Yeah,
raised.
Madam Chair, John Gale.
Thank you. Councilman Gale, please go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, and I can add a little more context for you, Madam Chair, and
Thank
for
you.
Councilman Mictum. As it turns out, my law office, where I'm sitting right now, is at 363 Main Street. I am in the building adjacent to what is it, 345.
Mhm.
And I have been here for 30 years, so I know 345 Main intimately. And it was put up for sale, and I went and looked at it. They had it up for sale at $380,000, and my understanding is they actually received several offers. So in terms of the fair market value of this property, it may very well be that the fair market value is 380 or, plus or minus. But the dispensary, Hartford Dispensary, I think they have another name that for their legal, chose to essentially donate it for charitable purposes to the city of Hartford by selling it to the city for 50,000, and I believe they're going to get a bit of a charitable write-off for the balance of what they can demonstrate as a fair market value. So, as Director Benjamin indicated, if he's able to sell it, it turns out we actually may make some money off this deal. And I'm absolutely familiar. I'm assuming Director Benjamin's talking about the chiropractic office that's across the street, Dr. Cologne, who just couldn't pull the trigger quick enough when the building went up for sale. And so he will definitely be responding to a request for proposals, I believe. And that would be a wonderful use for the property. It was built as a medical office originally. So to have another medical office in there would I'm sure would be very acceptable to the South Downtown neighborhood. And I'm glad to hear Director Benjamin state that, anything that they are considering, they're going to run by South Downtown, the NRZ. So that's always appreciated. So I just wanted to add that context to it. I certainly have no objections to the city purchasing it at this point, as I think it's going to end up being a benefit for everyone.
And I'll say Councilman Gale answered my question about how we were getting it for this price, so I have no questions either.
Okay, that was what I was trying to follow up. So this is great. Director Benjamin, I would say that after the city decides on the process, and then if another person purchase it, does that have to come back to the city council? Since it's
For disposition, yes. So anytime we acquire or dispose of a property, whether it's through a request for proposals process or a direct sale, it has to go through the council, including this subcommittee. It will also have to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for an 8-24 review, which essentially reviews the sales alignment with the Plan of Conservation and Development's goals.
Wow, I'm impressed. You've learned a lot since you've come aboard with the city of Hartford.
I had
Thank you.
planning under me in my last job, so I had to do this all the time.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you realizing that plan that's been worked on, every 10 years or so. It's really important to keep, the alignment of what it is proposed to do. Of course, it's a living document and it's adjusted, from time to time. But the concept was a lot into it. That's we are actually doing what we said we were supposed to do in the city of Hartford. So thank you for that. So I'm seeing no question from Councilman Mitchum, and Councilman Gale basically gave a little bit of background information. I am open for a motion on the floor.
I will move to send this back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Great, thank you. Motion's been made and properly second to send back to council a favorable recommendation for the sale of 341, 345 Main Street. Are there any discussion? Seeing or hearing no discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against, abstention, none. Seeing, well, thank you again, Director Benjamin. This will be going back to the full council meeting. When is that? In January? Not sure when.
Second Monday of January.
Yeah. We have the 824 planning and zoning recommendation as yet on this sale?
That should be at the first or their meeting in January, in anticipation of it being sent back to the full council.
So their first planning and zoning meeting is on the 10th. Our first council meeting, Councilman Gale, is
January 12th.
So the day before.
No,
So
we're the 12th. When did you say
we're the 12th, they're the 13th.
Yep.
So I would say we may want to, Councilman Gale, amend your motion to include that a favorable 824 review should be passed this on the 12th. Remember, we need an 824.
Yeah. No, I think, Madam Chair, I'm still going to move to send it back favorably. I think on the 12th, when we're meeting at council, I think it would be appropriate to postpone it that night, subject to getting the result of the 824 review, because we might decide to change our minds based on what the 824 review is, but I don't think we should pass it until there is an 824 review. I think Attorney Vassallo will probably agree with that. So we would end up, it'll be on the agenda with a report back from this committee, but we wouldn't take action until the second committee meeting in January, second council meeting in January.
I do believe, and correct me, Director Benjamin, there is some time restraint here. And also, let me hear from Attorney Vassallo.
Yes, if I may, Chair, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves with the 824, which would be required when we go to dispose of the property.
Oh, not for purchase.
Not for purchase. So we do not need to send it for an 824 in order to conclude this, the purchase of this property.
Okay. Ready.
Problem solved. Thank you.
Thank you. Problem solved. Well, then, the motion has been approved to favorably send back for approval to the overall council meeting on the January 12th. Thank you all for that. Next item on the agenda. Items 2.4, and that is a resolution from Mayor Arulampulam confirming the appointment of Edison Silva to the Hartford Parking Authority Board of Commissioner. And do we have, yep, we do have Mr. Silva here.
Present.
Okay, thank you very much for joining, Mr. Silva. Could you tell us why you would like to be appointed to the Hartford Parking Authority Board? And I've known your service in the city for numerous years, but I'll let you tell us about yourself a little bit.
Yes, good evening to all. My name is Edison Silva. I'm a City of Hartford retired employee. I have lived in the city of Hartford for 50 years. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. And I actually feel honored and very fortunate to be able to continue to serve the people of the city in which I live. And serving on the parking authority, I hope that I can bring a contribution that helps the administration as well as council to continue to grow the city, to improve, so that we can make Hartford a place where we want to live, work, and play. So I appreciate the opportunity of giving, and I hope to do nothing but serve.
Great. Thank you. And we've always said to everyone who volunteered to sit on the board and commission, we are so grateful that Hartford residents is stepping up to the plate to do so. Because again, working with the boards and commissions certainly help us to govern the city. So thank you so very much for doing so. Any comments, question for Mr. Silva regarding appointment for the Parking Authority?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll have a couple of comments, if I may.
Sure.
We had another appointment to the Hartford Parking Authority recently, and I brought this up at that time, Mr. Silva, so I'll bring it up to you as well. The Hartford Parking Authority's authority is given to it by virtue of state statute that delineates, I think it's 11 things that a parking authority can do. If you're probably somewhat familiar with the parking authority, you're certainly going to get more familiar being on the commission. But the parking authority has a pretty good ability to stay in touch with almost every part of Hartford, because it's a constantly, you've got a lot of employees there and you're around. And so I have thought that the Hartford Parking Authority could be useful in doing other services for the city of Hartford. But in order for the parking authority to conduct those services, they would need a change in the state statute, because the statute, as I mentioned, just lists 11 things that you can do. I have proposed to my own representative, Representative Ritter. I've proposed to the mayor. I believe everybody was on board with it. It just wasn't a very high priority. And I don't know to what extent there was any statewide opposition, but I proposed that statute be amended to add a 12th power, which says that the parking authority could do anything that the municipality reasonably gave it to do. And I'm probably not wording it very well, but the concept, just one example, for instance, we have constant problems with zoning, with little quality of life issues, like people parking on their front lawns in various neighborhoods. And it drives neighbors crazy and people get phone calls. And what if the Hartford Parking Authority could simply give a notice of zoning violation as they're driving around, because they're always driving around looking for people who are illegally parked. They could see somebody illegally parked on their front lawn and give it wouldn't be a parking ticket, it would be a zoning violation, something like that. So I just want to plant that seed with you, so that you have it in mind, and maybe you and the other commissioners discuss it. Maybe you push the administration and say, hey, we could be helpful here. I, as a council member, think you could. I think there's a lot of potential in the parking authority to do even more than it currently does. And mind you, I think it does a very good job right now. And some of the advances that have been made have been going into some of the retail corridors and putting requiring people to park so that employees aren't taking up parking. We had places on like Capitol Avenue where you have a whole bunch of little businesses between Lawrence Street and Babcock. And those little businesses need the parking spaces to be freed up so that customers can pull in, get a coffee from Story and Soil, go to Red Rock, right? But hit the Guatemala bakery. But if employees were parking their cars there all day long, they were taking up parking spaces. So now you have to pay to park there, and I think this is a great advancement. And you'll get tuned into to these kinds of things. And my last comment is that we constantly hear that there's not enough parking from our friends and neighbors who live in the suburbs. And I don't believe it for an instant. I think we have far too much parking. Parking lots are the bane of our existence. We've got our economic development director and our development services director here. And I think they would agree, having studied these things, that, cities with acres and acres of parking lots are not healthy cities. So whatever we can do to, certainly provide adequate facilities, but always keeping in mind we're trying to provide a walkable city. So I just make that comment. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to provide my comments to Mr. Silva. And Mr. Silva, I'm happy to hear anything you have to say about any of those or not. Your choice.
Can I just add to that, Councilman Gale? And that is, as you're right, the parking authority definitely touches a lot of people, especially in the neighborhood, especially Street Hoop, which has you need a parking sticker to park on the street. Because again, when you live on a street with, 33 family apartments, you have 2 cars, there is no place for anyone to park. One of the things I will ask of you, and that is, as council members, we hear the complaints from the residents in the community, and I'm asking you to be open. So when we call you up and say, these are the issues and concerns we're hearing, as a commissioner, to address those concerns, with your other fellow commissioners and the administrators of the parking authority.
Yeah, I truly understand. In general, people think that parking authority is only responsible for issuing tickets, but it's not the reality. I mean, we have the parkings, we have, all the issues that you have touched on, and obviously we want to try to have those communications with all those departments, whether it's Public Works, Development Services, that we have those communications so that we collaborate in making the city, a little bit more walkable, livable, and that people would want to come into the city and enjoy it as it is. So I will certainly be there to hear your complaints, because that's what people elect you for, so that they can come and complain to you, and then
we pass the complaint on to you,
and then you pass them on to the responsible parties, and hopefully we'll give you answers that will have our constituents happy.
No, thank you. It's a huge help. Over the years, I will say to you, where there was concerns and the council members have approached the parking authority, they have worked with the council and the residents and try to solve the issues. The last concerns and issues, is over at Cole Park, with the parking when there's a baseball game. And the parking authority was handing out lots of tickets. And of course it came to the council, and we, talked with member of the commission and the administration at the parking authority, and they was able to work with the community to solve that issue. So just want to thank you and let you be aware that you will be seeing us, not just now, but you'll be seeing us in the future, because the parking authority touches so many people in the neighborhood, not just downtown Hartford. Okay, so Councilman Gale or Councilman Mitchum, if there is no other comments or questions, I'm open for a motion.
Move to send it back with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Motion's been properly made and second for sending back to February recommendation of appointing Mr. Edison Silva to the Parking Authority. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstention? Hearing none. The ayes have it. Mr. Silva, congratulations. Again, thank you so very much for wanting to be a commissioner and at the City of Hartford Parking Authority. This item will be going favorably back to the City Council for appointment. Again, congratulations and thank you for joining us. I know you have another appointment, so you will be with us a little bit longer. Okay, next item on the agenda, items two. Oh, Mr. Silver, I think you're back up again, 2.5. And
That is correct.
I'm so glad you're retired from the city and you have lots of time to volunteer. This is one.
A glutton for punishment, some might
I
say.
swear to God, he wants to also be a commissioner for the Hartford Board of Assessment, which is going to be a real major issue, in a year or so. So again, we know who you are, a little bit about Parking Authority. What have you found out about the Hartford Board of Assessment?
Well, one of the things, and I think you nailed it when you said, in a couple of years it's going to be. I think that the climate right now, as we look at, the federal government making the cuts that they're making, how that's going to impact both our state and local governments and the ability to provide services to our residents. And what is that really going to mean in terms of assessments and folks wanting to look at ways that they don't have to burden the tax load that I think we all see coming in one way or the other. I've always said that the dear Lord says that we sin with our thoughts. And I think that, we all, in one way or the other, always think of how we can get away without paying taxes. So if that was a cardinal sin, that would be the number one sin that we all commit one way or the other. But obviously, hearing the concerns of not only property owners but also businesses that want to come into the city and try to be successful, how we can help in a way that keeps them doing business in our city, and to retain those businesses so that the load does not go all on our property owners.
Thank you. Let me just say, Mr. Silvers, that I know that we have reval coming up another year or so. And one of the things the past assessment commissioners have done is, educating the community, and how to come to the, if they have concerns or if they think their taxes are too high, coming back to the Board of Assessment Appeals to actually take a look at their appraised value, with the city. It's a heavy workload because I've watched them. They meet with the residents right up in the council chambers. But one of the things I will ask is the education of our community, because a lot of our community don't realize that if they have any issues and concerns with their assessment, they don't know how, to come to the city and get some help. So I will ask you, during your free time, if you have any, after sitting all these boards and commission, is doing some education of this within the community.
I could not agree with you more, Shirley. I think that one of the things that I found throughout my years of experience is that a lot of times, we hear complaints from whatever customer base it is, whether it's taxpayers or residents, and that's a lot of time is a lack of knowledge, of education, that not knowing what the issues are, and I think we owe them that responsibility to make sure that they are informed and understand the processes and how it does affect them, and how they can become a voice in making that better, not only for themselves, but everyone in the community.
Okay, any other comment? Councilman Gale.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Silva. I know we're in need of having a good assessment appeals board, and I know recent retirement there has left an opening. So thank you for stepping up, and I hope that you are not planning any vacations for March of 2027. As Council President alluded to, reval is October 1 of 2026. So it is a little over 10 months away.
Yep.
Every single property is going to get revaled, and people can file their assessment appeals starting February 1 of 2027. They have 20 days to do so till February 20th of 2027. So anybody that's listening now, put it on your calendar. And after they file those appeals, you get to hear them all. And boy, every 5 years, you get a mass of appeals at reval time. So March of 2027 is going to be a very busy time for you. And I wish you luck. It's going to be difficult for all of us. I think the current economics right now don't favor our homeowners, don't favor to some degree our tenant base. Because unless Mr. Walker or Mr. Benjamin find a magic wand and are able to cause our commercial property to suddenly ratchet up in value, it certainly appears that the largest taxpayers in the city, who've really helped subsidize the rest of us for a long time, are going to have their properties valuations go down by 20–30%, which is then that loss is going to have to be spread among the rest of us. So even without a single penny more being raised by the city of Hartford, people are going to find that their taxes are going to go up, and I'm not sure we're going to have much control over that. We know it. We know it's coming, and everybody's trying to mitigate it as best as possible. But you're going to hear a lot of sob stories when folks come, especially the elderly on fixed incomes, and finding, their assessments going way up. So anyway, good luck to you. Thank you for stepping up for that. Certainly appreciate it.
I didn't want to scare him off too much, John. That's why generally,
he's a warrior. He's an old warrior. He knows these things.
I was trying to be nice and just tiptoe about the reval coming up, because as I said, meeting in the council chambers, boy, you listen to and the noise, 15–20 minutes is another one waiting. So I didn't want to scare him off too much. But Councilman Gale is right, no vacation. So please.
I'm happy to take the challenge.
Okay, well, good for you. Well, thank you for stepping up to the plate to take the challenge. Any other questions or comments? Seeing or hearing?
None for me.
Okay.
I'll move to send it back favorably, send this recommendation back favorably to council.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. The motion on the floor to send, and properly second, to send back a favorable recommendation to appoint Edison Silver to the Hartford Board of Assessment and Appeals, and he will hang in there and don't leave us, after he gets his feet wet another year or so. So those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Those against? Any abstentions? Seeing or hearing none? Congratulations again, Mr. Silva. We don't want to scare you off. We're here for you. But it's going to be a tough road in the next year or so within the city, especially for the residential property owners. So congratulations. This February recommendation will be going back to the council for the next council agenda. And I am sure our assessor, Mr. Phillips, will be, reaching out to you regarding some education regarding the Board of Assessment Appeal. You've got two great partners, Tony Mean and oh, geez, just slipped my brains.
McGarry.
And yeah, and Mike McGarry, who has been there, for the last several years. So you've got some great partners to work with. So again, congratulations and welcome aboard again.
Well, thank you again for the opportunity, and I'm honored and again fortunate to serve.
Great. Thank you so very much for being with us. And please free, we have a lot of items on the agenda. Please free to, hang out with us and listen. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is items 2.6. It's a resolution from Mayor Arulampalam and confirming the appointment of Angela Aikenberry, I hope I don't mess up her name, to the Hartford Parking Authority Board as a commissioner. Let's see, Angie,
Yep,
you're here?
I'm here.
Okay.
Hi.
Could you
Yeah.
make sure you didn't mess up your name, please?
Oh, you were Eikenberry. Very close.
Aikenberry. Thank you so
Yeah.
very much. Well, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be a commissioner on the Parking Authority.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm really appreciate the opportunity to serve in Hartford. I moved here about a year and a half ago to take a job at UConn in the School of Public Policy, and so I work downtown. I also live downtown in Hartford, um, and really can see as I heard all the comments earlier about I can look out my window and see the vast swaths of parking around us. And I've had a long time interest in transportation, and parking really is just central to thinking about mobility, right? And accessibility development is just key, as you all were talking about earlier. And I'm really interested in how I can contribute to supporting Hartford and growing the prosperity of Hartford and its citizens. So I'm really honored to have the opportunity to give back in this way. Thank
That is
you.
awesome. No, thank you. Welcome to the city. So, I'm going to be prejudiced. I think it's one of the best city in the entire state of Connecticut. So, to be very honest with you.
Best in the country. Why limit us to Connecticut?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to go for the whole country. So I'm very prejudiced. So
All right.
thank you for choosing Hartford and wanting to live here with us. Beautiful people in our entire city.
Yeah,
Um,
I've loved being here. Yes, thank you.
Great. Councilman Hill, any comments?
Yeah, first of all, thank you and thrilled. I see your resume, PhD, university professor with a considerable record of published articles. Happy to have you take any kind of deep look you want at parking in Hartford and how it interrelates with development. I would note you have a colleague also at UConn, a professor named Norm Garrick. I don't know if you're familiar with the name, but Norm has studied and written extensively, not recently, but he's written extensively about parking in Hartford.
Okay, I'll
and
check
the
it out.
interrelationship of parking and development and all of all those issues. So just something for you to keep in mind. You may cross paths with them or may look them up at some point. It might be beneficial. I don't know. But anyway, you heard my comments that I made with Mr. Silva, obviously. So I just repeat the same and welcome you aboard. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir, and I echo everything. You know, impressive resume, but one of the things which I really look for more than anything else is giving back to the community that we live in. Because, if we don't have people like yourself who step up to the plate and want to give back to make our community better, then we're not going to go anywhere, no matter how educated we are. So thank you so very much for wanting to do that. I know you're going to bring a wealth of information to the parking authority. we're in also, forgot to mention to when I was speaking to Mr. Silva, you know, I remember at one time in last year's budget, the Parking Authority administration have thought about moving, some of our parking garages are old, need renovations. So there's a lot of issues that needs to be addressed there in the Parking Authority. So I look forward to working with you and addressing those issues, as we go forward. So again, thank you, really thank you from the bottom of my heart to want to do this.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Or I'm open for a motion.
Motion to send back with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is made and properly second to send back with a favorable recommendation to the council to appoint Angela Eikenberry to the Hartford Parking Authority. Congratulations.
Take a
We
vote,
got a
Madam
vote.
Chair.
I'm
Take a
sorry.
vote. Take a
Oh,
vote
I gotta
first.
well, listen, I'm definitely, she only needs my vote, and she got my votes. Absolutely. She's volunteering, and I'm great for that. So yes, I do need to take a vote. Thank you very much for reminding me. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so very much. And I say aye too. Those against, any abstentions, seeing or hearing none? Now can I say congratulations and
Yeah, thank
thank
you.
you so very much for wanting to make and work with us to make Hartford a great place to live. So thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Well, we're halfway down our agenda. So next item on the agenda is items 2.7. It's an ordinance amending Chapter 18, Section 18 to 20 from Mayor Arulampalam of the Municipal Code of the City of Hartford for the purpose of extending the time period for the filing of rental license application for owners of building with 4 to 9 dwellings. And that item was on the November 24th agenda. It did go to public hearing on December 15th at the 7 p.m. Public hearing. So it is ready to be addressed. Who from the administration is going to speak on this item?
I am, Madam Chair.
Judith Rothschild. Ms. Rothschild, how are you? Lovely to see you again.
Thank you. Very happy to see you, and good evening, everyone.
We're gonna have to get you more to the committee meeting. Great.
I was to present tonight, and I understand the L&I update is now pushed over to your January meeting, and I'll be seeing you then again.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so very much. So tell us why you want this extension for this time period, because I remember when we did the original rental license agreement, that was, how many years ago was this? Maybe 2?
Well, 2019, but then extended over to start really in 21.
Okay, that was right around the COVID time, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah. And so let us know why you're asking for an extension for another period of time.
Yes, ma'am. So the rental license program is at its 3rd tier of buildings to be introduced into the program. The first tier was the buildings that had 40 or more units. We have 100% of the owners having made application in that group. The second tier was the buildings with 10 to 39 units. Of that, we have about 90% cooperative owners that have applied. The rest are being enforced against. Notices of violation and citations where we don't get a response. We're at the 3rd tier, which was due for application for the buildings of 4 to 9 units. The 4 to 9 unit building owners were notified in the summer, in June, that their applications were due, as were the other years, between July 1 and October 31 of that year of 2025. Notices were mailed out, regular mail to all of them, and then a reminder notice went out to approximately 846 building owners that as of October had still not applied. And now that we are past the October 31 deadline, we have only received 37% of those owners' applications. So approximately 312 of 842 is the correct number, have been compliant so far. That's an extraordinary large number of building applications that we're missing. We did send our notices, as I mentioned, but I think, and in deliberation with Jeff Ocker and with the mayor, it seems appropriate that we give another chance to those who have not yet applied without affixing penalties. And that's because I think these building owners are not so much as the large building owners. They're not so much corporate entities, large building owners with multiple properties. We're getting now responses from people, individuals, some mom and pop, some elders who have never heard about the program and despite our notices are unfamiliar with the requirement to file. As the ordinance stands, if they don't file on time, there is a $1,000 penalty that's assessed on the first day after the ordinance requires the filing. So as of November 1, in effect, some 63% of the people who are required to apply would be fined an additional $100 penalty on top of the license fees that they have to pay. And we believe it would be fair and appropriate to give another notice, to give some time for advertising that was not invested into the program process for this tier at least, and to then extend the time for on-time filing to the end of February so that people would not automatically bear a $1,000 penalty. Instead, they'd have till February 28th to be on time, and not until March 1 would they bear that penalty. So we're trying to work with cooperative owners. The sheer number of people who have not applied yet does not say people are defying the program. I think they're not familiar enough with it and they need some additional advertising, some additional reach out, and an additional opportunity to comply on time.
Okay.
Question, Madam Chair, or a couple, I guess.
Oh, go ahead, Councilman Mitchum.
Thank you much. Good evening, Director Rothschild. Just to be clear, because you said $1,000 fine twice, but $100 fine once, and I want to make sure I have the right number. It's $1,000 fine if they're late?
If I did say 100, I misspoke. It's a $1,000 penalty if they're late.
That's okay. That's what I thought. I just want to make sure. Maybe I misheard. So whatever, just so I'm clear. And then I guess my other question is, the same thing happened with the other tiers buildings. We extended the deadline for them to, presumably they're more sophisticated than these owners. I was against extending the deadline then, but we knew this was a problem. Why didn't we invest in the advertising that you say that we now will invest in?
So I can say that I don't recall an extension of time for the other building owners. When we sent out notices of violation and when we sent out the reminder notices, we got most of their responses. This is different. This is totally less of a response, but why we didn't advertise is a fair question. And the answer is we did do some publicity on our city website for DDS. We did send the notices, but a public publicity campaign was discussed a few years ago. So I think the city hired a consultant, but I don't believe the project ever went to fruition at that time. Since then, DDS has been putting out a series of different platforms of social media and has already advertised the rental license program requirements in that platform, but we are also working towards a further campaign. We are holding up at this point because we're hoping that council will approve an extension. So we want to advertise the extended date when we put out the news at this point.
If I could, maybe I'll check in with my colleagues here. I'm almost certain that we delayed implementation for other tiers
Okay.
here because I remember arguing against it, right? I didn't dream.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, we
I
did.
concur, Councilman Mictum. We did.
Yep.
There was, and I don't know that it was because of lack of response. I think the city itself was gearing up at that time. That may be the 21 amendment that you mentioned, Ms. Rothschild. The first landlord licensing program was established, and then a couple of years or 2 or 3 years later, there was an amendment, as Councilman mentions, that really extended all of the deadlines, I think, for everybody, because I don't think the city had really, and I will say, I think, in fairness to the city of Hartford, this was a whole new enterprise. This whole concept of landlord licensing, I'm not even sure how many cities in the country have the concept. And so I don't fault our department. We're trying to create something new, and I would expect a learning curve, and expect that therefore we have to go back in and tweak this and tweak that. So I wasn't surprised the first time, and I will tell you from personal experience, I'm not surprised this time. I actually tried to help someone file their application, someone with 4 units of housing, and I found it extremely difficult. What wasn't clear to me from the notices was whether you could file it in paper form or had to file it online. And so we thought you had to file it online, and the online system, and I think of myself as reasonably proficient at these things, but I just kept getting it thrown back at me, thrown back at me, thrown back at me. So I'm not surprised that other people may have started and then just went, blah, threw up their hands and said, I can't do this. And so to the extent that you go out and make it clear to people that, I hope there are multiple ways for applying. I hope you can do it paper. To the extent you can make it clear and easy to submit the application, so much the better. I mean, there was some terminology in there. I think, is there some certification of your heating system?
Yes.
I'm not sure a lot of people know what that means. Everybody knows they've got a boiler and, they get it serviced from time to time, but I don't think they know what it means to have their heating system certified. So, I looked at that one and I was like, do we have to call a plumber? And indeed, I think we had to call a plumber to get the plumber to say, yeah, this system seems to be working fine. So I know you're working on those things, and I just give you that little bit of feedback. But the extent that your educational program explains to people how to do how to satisfy the certification for heating. Call the guy that deals with your system and have them give you and I think to the extent that, not that you can tell people that it isn't going to cost them much, but I think it's a concern. People say, well, my plumber charges a lot of money. Is my plumber going to charge me $500, $1,000 for this certification? I think in my, the case I was helping out on, I think the plumber actually did it for nothing, but because the plumber was already familiar with our system. But I don't know that all of them are doing that. So anyway, give you that little bit of feedback.
I appreciate it.
And I'll add, I just want to, I sort of apologize. Councilman Gill made me remember that the previous postponement in implementation wasn't because of non-compliance. It was because the city was still ramping up. So that I sort of implied by my question that the city should have known to advertise better. I take that back because I was wrong on that front.
I think you're correct that it was extended, but it was the whole series of tiers that was extended. We hadn't, as I just came into the city to work around that time in 2021. I came and I don't think notices had even gone out yet. So everything that was due by 2021 got moved to 23, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I do appreciate the comments.
Can I ask one more question? The $1,000 fine, is it a one-time, like, how does that do fines accrue? Like, what does that mean?
It's a one-time penalty, and it goes as soon as you're late. as the ordinance reads right now. So late right now is November 1 for all of those people that haven't applied yet, but it's a one-time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, Councilman Gale, Councilman Mitchum?
No, no more questions.
Okay. Let me say that I remember we just take office, it was 2021. So, and it was, you know, I know Ms. Rothschild just came with the city and, you know, gearing up for this program, and it took a lot of getting this program started. So I'm going to say this, that I understand, you know, we did the larger apartment complexes before, you know, we're down to the smaller ones now, which, you know, I'm sure there's more mom and pop owners of these, you know, the 4 to 9 buildings. And as Councilman Gale alluded to, uh, they probably aren't very versed in filling out, you know, this form. And I hope when Councilman Gale mentioned it, is it online or in, you know, by paper? I hope that information is cleared up. And I have no problem extending this another year because I know how difficult it was. And being PDNH chair from back in those days, from 21, and how many meetings we went through to get this program up and going. I think it has really been very cost effective for the city, especially the larger buildings, and getting a certificate of occupancy or rental apartment occupancy really made a difference in staying aboard and staying in touch and making these buildings, these rental buildings, you know, fairly, you know, probably, I would say definitely, you know, livable for our residents in the city. So I have no problems extending it for another year. And then after that, now that we should have had everything now under, we've done everything. So going forward, and I think it's a 2-year program, or is it 5 years? I can't remember.
The
It's
license once issued per the last ordinance change a couple of years ago, we made them all 4-year licenses.
4 year.
Yes, ma'am.
So going forward now after this, you know, people should have gotten the hang of it, and the administration should have gotten the hang of it. So we won't need to adjust our timing anymore. And if I remember, sorry, go ahead.
I apologize for interrupting.
No, that's okay. I was saying that I remember Councilman Gale, you know, had talked about making sure we had the staffing to do this, you know, and through our budget process, we did do a little bit, you know, so hopefully the next, when we start over again, we have ironed out all the kinks in the system.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments, and staffing is certainly in discussion because the amount of buildings we're climbing up around 1,500 buildings to go through the process. And that right now is being handled by 3 staff people. So that is an obvious issue that we are discussing, and staffing is the reason. But I'll also add, as it's proposed, Madam Chair, it's a request to extend the time frame from the current October 31 only to February 28th, 2026. So we're only asking for a few months extension.
Well, you know, I didn't
Ms.
open
Rothschild, do you think that's long enough? Really?
That was my question. You're right, Councilman Gale.
Well, when we first discussed the proposal, we thought perhaps that this process would be complete by December, and it may not at this point be complete until at least January. So given that, I would say no, it's not quite long enough now. Perhaps an additional month.
Would April 30th be a better date?
I believe it would.
Or maybe the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th.
I think either would be sufficient.
Okay. So, Councilman Mitchum, do you have an issue if we change that date to the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th?
Frankly, I have an issue with the whole thing. We're leaving $500,000 on the table from business owners who make their living off people's most basic right, which is housing. And the cardinal sin of this city vis-a-vis landlords is forgiveness. We do it over and over again. I understand the the logistical challenges, and I'm not here saying that the city needs to be sending out the violation notices or prosecuting them, but I don't actually think that, I mean, yes, these are the smallest landlords, but they've gotten the notices, they had a chance to inquire and find out. And, 4 units means you're, probably pulling in what, $1,000 per minimum per unit per month. It's hard for me to find a lot of sympathy in my heart for that. But you all have your majority. You can do how you want to do them.
No, Councilman Mitchum, it's not a matter of majority. I'd also like to make sure that we're all governed, with the concept that, we're doing the best we can. I do hear you when you talked about the income, and the economic benefits to these property owners, but we also have to take in consideration that, information did go out of Councilman Gale, who's an educated an attorney and couldn't even figure out how to fill out this form. Could you imagine, these property owners of these four, properties
These
this?
business owners. These are business owners, and they're getting a notice about a compliance issue. And if they can't figure out, they are business owners. They need to reach out to the city and figure it out. They're making money off people's most basic needs. So they're not, they're not just random people in the street. They're people who hold the keys to 4 people's house, 4 families' house.
Understand the sentiment, Councilman Mitchum. Also want to make sure that the city get this process done properly. And that's the recommendation of, all right, if you don't want to even go to, Ms. Rothschild was okay with April 30th, which is right after tax season. So if that will work, so therefore, I would like to propose that we amend the ordinance to, and I don't have a copy of it in front of me.
I'll make the amendment, Madam Chair. Let's I would move that we amend the date for compliance for the 4 to 9 unit property owners be extended from February 28th to, well, actually be extended from October 31st until April. I like June
April 30th.
I like June 30th. I don't care.
I like June 30th because the end of the fiscal year.
I'm gonna say June 30th, and then I'm gonna that's gonna be my motion. And if you would second that,
I will second the motion to June 30th. And the reason why I said June 30th, we have gone through our budget process. Ms. Rothschild is coming, will be presenting at the budget process. So we can get an update and, maybe by June 30th, she can says all, 300 people or 300 building has now in compliance. So I like June 30th because it's the beginning of our fiscal year and it's a new beginning for the whole program to start all over again.
Yeah, so and
I will second that motion.
Thank you. And I would just comment back. Having my day job as a lawyer, I've represented countless people over the years who've owned 6-family, one of the more common buildings in Hartford are our perfect sixes, so to speak. And contrary to Councilman Mictum's characterization, for the most part, a lot of these people are not sophisticated business owners. Certainly, a lot of them are. I mean, I'm not gonna say that we don't have people who have come in and scooped up some of these buildings thinking they're going to make a nice tidy fortune, but a lot of them are people who scrimped and saved for many years, thinking that this was a very good thing to be able to be a landlord for a 6-family unit and house in some cases their relatives there, and in many cases not getting problems that this size landlords have collecting rents, paying bills. It's not an easy thing. This is not like a gateway to millionaire status, owning a 4 or 6 family building in Hartford. So anyway, that we have the motion. I'm in favor of it.
And I second the motion to amend to extend the period to June 30th. So
I'll say only, oh, I'm sorry, Madam
go
President. I
ahead.
didn't mean to.
Go ahead.
I'll
I
say
was
only
upset.
this.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
I won't harp on it any more than this. I'll just say that last month I got a speeding ticket. And I will tell you, there is nothing like paying a fine to get me to slow down my driving. There's a lot of value to a fine, and I think it wouldn't hurt these folks all to learn that you must, if you want to do business in a heavily regulated industry, you got to follow the rules or pay the price.
Well, I hope they learned their lesson. And next year, when the program begins again in 4 years, we certainly will. There will be not extending it anymore. The fines will be paid and
I'll
go
hold you to
forward.
that.
Okay. So the motion on the floor is to, and is seconded to amend the ordinance to a June 30th, 2026 rental license deadline. Am I correct in saying that, Ms. Rochelle? For
Yes,
filing?
you are. And it's specifically an amendment to section 18-20,
Yep.
subsection B2 would be extended to June 30, 2026.
Okay. So let's repeat that. So the motion on the floor has been properly made and second to extend section 18, chapter 18, section 18-20, B2 to amend and extend the filing deadline to June 30th, 2026. Okay. Is there any more discussion?
Just to ask Corp Counsel whether that would be a substantive change that would require another public hearing.
Oh, forgot about that. Attorney Valasso.
Yeah, I'm here. So let's see, what was proposed originally was to go only until what date? 'Cause we're
February
only changing-
28th.
It was originally February 28th.
Yeah.
You are enlarging the time frame, but it's not having a negative effect, I guess, on the people that would be affected by it, so to speak. So I don't think it's something that would require. I think you have the ability to go longer. If you shortened it up and were saying it was only going to be until the end of January, for instance, I think then you might have an issue where you'd have to do another public hearing on the matter. But here, I think the extension is not more restrictive. It's actually a loosening, so to speak, of what was proposed. So I think we're okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking that, Councilman Gale. So the motion has been made and properly second. Those, and we have our discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against?
Nay.
Nay. Any abstentions? Seeing or hearing none, the motion passed, and we will be sending back to council.
Well, I'll now make a motion to send back the amended.
Right.
I'm
I'll now
sorry?
make a motion to send back the amended,
The
now
amended.
amended ordinance to council with a favorable recommendation.
All right. So now we have amended, and now we're sending back to council a favorable recommendation with the amendment. And I'm seconding that again. And those in favor of the sending back to council favorable recommendation with the amended ordinance. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those against?
Nay.
Nay. Any abstention? Seeing or hearing none, the item passes to send back to council an amended favorable recommendation to extend the license application.
And
Thank
Madam
you.
President, I'm very sorry. I have to ruin your quorum now. Pretty late.
You do?
Yes. I could have bailed earlier and pushed this over to the next meeting.
It doesn't ruin it. Our quorum
We
is
have two of us, so we have a
Oh, your
quorum.
quorum is
We have the
two.
two of
Oh,
us.
okay, then I
Yeah,
have
we're
to ruin
good.
nothing except your
That's
good
it.
cheer. Have a lovely
Okay.
evening. Sorry,
Oh, yeah, sure.
Take
Suck
it
up.
easy.
All right, fine. Bye. All right, thanks, Josh. Ms. Watchett, if you'll work with Anaisha McCauley, who is the assistant to the committee, to make sure we have the amended ordinance ready for the next council meeting. I would appreciate it.
Yes, I'd be happy to. And thank you very much for your assistance and your attention and comments all on this important matter. I will say you can apply in paper, Councilman Gale. And we do assist people with the parameters and requirements as much as we can. We know it's complex and new to a lot of people. So thank you and good evening. Happy holidays.
Okay, thank you, you too. See you next year.
Yes,
Thank you. Be safe, everyone. Okay, so next item on the agenda is items 2.8. It's a resolution from Mayor Aralampulam with a recommendation of the Capital Region East Coast Greenway Study. That was on the November 24th agenda. Unfortunately, it went to a different committee and it's come back to the correct committee. Who from the administration is going to speak on this item? Hello?
Maybe we have someone from CROG to speak on it.
But
Madam
nobody
Chair.
from the administration? Apparently, I mean, it's the city's resolution.
Yeah, yeah, apologies. We had some family emergencies. So if this is a ball dropped on our end,
Okay.
Council President, we'll take that one on ourselves. But yeah, I think we needed William and we don't have that.
Okay, but we do see some representative from CROG, which is their proposal, so they can address the, you know, is CROG can do the presentation and address the issues? You guys are okay?
Yes,
Great.
we're happy to do that. We were asked to prepare a presentation. So good evening, council members. Thank you so much for your time this evening. With your permission, I will go ahead and at least attempt to share. Hopefully I don't have any issues. Would that be all right?
Sure, please go right ahead.
Okay, all right. Let's see if I can do this on the first try. We're going to do this screen. You will stare at yourselves momentarily, I'm afraid, but I will fix that. Okay. And then get back here, slideshow.
It's a beautiful picture. It looks
Thank you.
warm. It looked warm.
Unlike the current conditions outside.
Exactly.
So again, thank you so much for your time this evening. This has been a project that has been a long time coming to you, so we're really excited to be before you tonight. My name is Caitlin Palmer. I'm the Director of Regional Planning and Development at the Capital Region Council of Governments, also known as CROG. I'm joined tonight by my colleague, Mike Cipriano, also from CROG, who's been helping me through the duration of this project, as well as, unfortunately, my Executive Director, Matt Hart, he had a personal conflict, but I'm sure he would join me in extending our thanks for your time this evening. I'm also joined by Ken Livingston, who is the project manager on the consultant side from FHI Studio, now known as IMEG, who again helped us for the entirety of this study. So I've got a lot to cover and I'm going to try to do it as concisely as possible. We began the study in 2022 technically, so I'm going to try to condense it down as best I can and be respectful of your time. And one last thing is I would like to thank folks from Development Services, in particular, Owen Deutsch, as well as Grace Yee, who's no longer with the city, but both of them were just invaluable in the process, as well as Jeff Ocker. We would not be here tonight without their assistance, and Owen served on our advisory committee, so thanks to them. Just to sort of level set everyone quickly, for those of you who might be a little less familiar with the East Coast Greenway, it's actually a pretty amazing vision that was established, I believe, in the early 90s. And essentially it's to create a 3,000-mile off-road route stretching all the way from Maine to Florida. Of the 15 states it goes through, it covers a fair bit of mileage in Connecticut with about 200 miles. The purpose or the focus of what we're going to be talking about tonight is this 12-mile gap that exists in the off-road route. And that off-road piece is really important. And it ties into our study goal, which is to identify an alignment to close the gap. And again, that off-road piece, and the reason why I say it's so important is it's that off-road piece that really enables the Greenway to be so special and to be allowed to be used safely and readily by all ages and users of all abilities. Before I continue down sort of on my little bullet list there, I'll just say that this is our study area. It's a snapshot. Essentially, we're looking at connecting from the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, which is that solid green line you see in Simsbury there in the west, And that blue dash line just conceptually represents the gap and to where we're trying to connect to the Charter Oak Greenway over in East Hartford. Obviously, the East Coast Greenway has been a priority of the municipalities you see on the screen, of CTDOT, of CROG for many, many years. And so, it's a big regional and statewide significant greenway, but we also see this as an opportunity to really identify some local connections as well. So that was a key goal for us, and I've got a brief slide on that later on. At this point, it's probably important to note that, again, we've been talking about this for years, trying to identify this alignment. This is the first time, actually, this study is the first time that all of these communities have sort of sat at the table at the same time to answer that question. And I think that's largely why we successfully have identified a conceptual alignment for you. And the goal, by securing the local municipal endorsement from each community, is at this point to really kind of close the book on this planning phase and to be able to move into actual design and construction in these communities. I'll just also note that it's taken a while because this is a hard section. We've kind of done all the easy stuff for the East Coast Greenway in Connecticut, and we're left with communities that have a lot of natural as well as man-made challenges, whether it's bridges or railroad corridors, rivers or mountains, or just sort of built areas. It makes it challenging, as you might imagine. And then again, coming out of this with recommendations that are design ready by being feasible, by having some cost estimates that we can use to inform our next steps, and even some renderings, which I have just a couple examples at the end that we can hopefully use in grant applications. So the long and short of it, as you might imagine, the study is complete. The final draft plan was published earlier this year in June. We had a over 50-day public comment period. We actually extended it to be able to do some additional meetings and pop-up community events. And then we began our local municipal endorsement process. To that end, this is just a super quick overview of the process and again, where we are, which is pretty much at the end. I could probably spend an hour talking about, all of these pieces of the process on the screen. In the interest of time, I won't. But basically to sort of say all of the feedback that we heard from the community, all of the information we got, online from the pop-ups, that sort of helped us narrow down sort of the universe of alternatives that we started with down to our preferred alignment that I'm going to run you through tonight. Okay, it's going to take a second. There we go. On process, I will just briefly touch on public engagement since that's obviously, a big part of any of these types of projects. On this slide, I'm focusing on the engagement that we did sort of more towards the beginning and middle of the project. Each community had an in-person workshop. That image that you see there on the top left is at the Keeney Park Pond House. We also had online mapping tools available where you could go on and it was interactive. You could draw segments and leave comments. We also did pop-up events. I believe we had some Spanish translators there, even for those pop-up events at the beginning. And we also did a few presentations by request. I think Riverfront Recapture, I quilt a couple of times, for example. My next slide is just kind of highlighting, this is all the engagement we did after the final plan was published when we were trying to spread the word. Of note, we went to your Hartford Planning and Zoning Commission in July. We had a really great conversation there. At a subsequent meeting, I believe they made a favorable motion to endorse the alignment. We also hosted a in-person public info session at the Albany Branch Library in August, and the following evening, we also offered a virtual session. And then highlighting some of the pop-ups that we did. I actually don't think that's a complete list, but notably I'll just call attention to 86Go has a meetup every Thursday, during the summer months, and it was a fabulous event. I think Mike made contact with 70 people there, so just a great opportunity. And we got a lot of feedback on our pop-ups. Those are really positive. I'm going to focus now on the preferred alignment itself, mostly focusing tonight, obviously, on Hartford, but just to give you a little bit of context on what's happening on either side of you as you kind of come into and leave Hartford via this proposed trail. So this is Bloomfield's preferred alignment, working our way top to bottom, if you will. There's a rail with trail corridor that takes them basically, there's a trail piece up there that we've cut off, but from the end of a completed trail all the way down into their town center. at which point we, I don't know if you'll see my mouse. Do you see my mouse?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then right around here, we're gonna pop off and we do some side paths down to this right here. This line is 218 or Cottage Grove Road. This is where the Capaco Shopping Center is. I absolutely love this segment. I know it's not Hartford, but calling attention to, we're making some great connections to the high school, to the senior and rec center there, and obviously also Capaco, which also means that we're creating a direct bike and pedestrian link for Hartford residents up to the Capaco shopping plaza as well. Next slide. Before I touch on the preferred alignment, I wanted to sort of take a brief moment to talk about some of the additional analysis we did in Hartford. This was just a big question at one point for the city as well as for DOT about the Griffin Line feasibility study. So FHI prepared a really fantastic memo. Memo is shortchanging it. It's actually 80 pages before you even get to the appendices. But simply asking the question, can a trail be built alongside the active rail line? So sort of a constructability question. So very sort of engineering technical. The long and short of it is, unless you'd like to read the 80-page memo, is yes, it is feasible. So sort of with the idea, if the city were to pursue rail with trail, we made some recommendations for what side of the rail corridor you should be on during various segments. Also worth noting that we analyzed Homestead Avenue as well for potential. So here's the preferred alignment for the city of Hartford. I have a couple of slides that kind of walk through segment by segment as well, super quickly. But the long and short of this slide that's important to note is everything you see on here, all of these green lines, that is part of your preferred alignment. So of note, that dashed line is going up North Main Street. That's sort of our interim route when there's flooding in the Riverfront Recapture Park area. And then notably, as you come down that bright green line, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, and you hit Albany Avenue, you get two alignments, essentially. You get sort of a more northerly, what we're calling the park route, and then you get a southerly option, which we're calling the downtown route. This is not uncommon to have these sort of parallel routes in other places in other cities and communities along the Greenway. So we kind of we're struggling a little bit, honestly, because we were like, we have to identify one route. And then the reality is we didn't have to choose. We could choose both. And I'm really excited with this recommendation because I think it does a couple of things. It offers two very different user experiences. So you've got one that's going to connect more directly to your downtown. It's going to connect to site and redevelopment opportunities along Homestead Avenue, which I know is a focus for the city. And then you've got the other one that is longer and more circuitous, but it's also offering a very different experience through the parks with access and views to the river, and takes advantage, of course, of showcasing Keeney Park as well as Riverfront Recapture. And both of these are taking advantage of investments that the city is already making in terms of the projects that everyone's working on. Now, just super quickly, I've got a couple of slides that walk you through the segments. So again, as we exit Bloomfield with Rail with Trail, that continues. And that continues, we propose down to Albany Avenue. At this point, it's worth noting that this is a conceptual plan. As this plan does move into design, additional factors are going to arise, things that might change the route. That's anticipated, that's expected. Case in point, DOT is actually very interested in this particular sort of bright green segment, and they're already doing some exploratory work. Their work indicates that maybe they might pop over to Mark Twain Drive at Plainfield Street instead. So again, just little permutations like that may happen as the project moves forward. As we head south, we're going to take advantage of the Albany Avenue side path that the city's already working on. And then from there, you get to make a decision as a user of the trail. And starting first with the northerly route, which we call again the park route. Using Westbourne Parkway, we would use that to access the trails within Keeney Park. So working with the city, we identified what we feel are pretty reasonable, likely existing and improved trails that would happen in Keeney Park. And again, noting that the city is currently doing the Keeney Park connectivity study right now, north of Tower Avenue. And so again, they're going to start diving more into the design. And so I would expect, certainly not be surprised to see that the trail that we're indicating here might change a little bit more in the future again. As you exit Keeney Park, we're going to pop over briefly into Windsor with a side path that's going to take us, side path and maybe an on-road segment along, I think that's Meadow Road, that's going to take you to the new Riverfront Recapture Park. And at that point, we have the advantage of using the Jomar Fuji River Walk that's being planned. And so just because that's being planned primarily by Riverfront Recapture, I'll just note that that's not in the cost estimates that I have to show later on. At this point, you're going to connect to the existing Riverwalk that you've already got, and then you'll be crossing at Founders Bridge. So all of this is existing, and the Founders Bridge crossing is already signed for East Coast Greenway purposes right now. Now, taking a breath and stepping back a second, we pop back over to Albany Avenue, and that's when you could instead choose to take the downtown route. So again, utilizing, you've got a couple of different options for how you might actually construct this in that Griffin and Homestead corridor. And then using that, you would eventually pop out of that corridor and using a side path along Myrtle and Spruce Streets, you would then basically connect to the existing trail, which is actually the East Coast Greenway in Bushnell Park, and then again crossing at Founders Bridge. So I went fast and I'm happy to take questions, but just to kind of give you an idea. Super briefly, in East Hartford, after you cross the Founders Bridge, they also have an interim route for flooding purposes. That's that dashed line, but otherwise using the existing trail in Great River Park. And then this is the Hockanum River. So rather than cross it, we kind of head back up to East River Drive. And then from here, it's using a series of a lot of DOT right of way and kind of going behind properties that otherwise front Silver Lane. And then crossing Robert Street. And then this little, that's the biggest on-road segment, actually, I think of this entire project that we've identified. A fairly quiet road. There's a DPW yard over there, unfortunately, but we think we can do a pretty decent design to mitigate that. And then we're connecting to the Charter Oak Greenway. So I went through that fast, but again, happy to take questions or go back if we need to. I wanted to summarize the public comments we received. So we got really amazing positive feedback from the pop-ups that we did. These were the ones that were written in. We had a total of 12 public comments that were written in for the entire study document. I think there's only 4 that were Hartford specific. I'm just calling attention to a few pieces. Again, overwhelmingly positive. Some folks were identifying additional spurs that they would like to see. Some of that we integrate in the community connectivity map I've got, but we did sort of tighten it up a little bit just to sort of stay within scope for the East Coast Greenway project. But again, loving the trails. There was, positive feedback on the connections. Somebody did flag unsafe road conditions on Scarborough. So just an opportunity to pass that information on to the city and, pleased to see an all above option, approach rather to the Keeney Park and Griffin piece. So that was really great. We got some positive feedback. Just noting that we also did receive comments from DOT. They were part of our advisory committee. We worked with them throughout the project and got comments before the final draft went out. But I think it's very positive that they continued to dig into the plan even after it was published. And so gave us some additional technical comments, which require some very minor modifications to the plan. Noting for you in particular, they mostly were reiterating comments from prior conversations that were captured in that Griffin corridor feasibility study regarding rail with trail. Again, sort of emphasizing north of Albany Avenue, they're very intrigued and they're doing some exploratory design work. And then south of Albany, it's a little bit more challenging. It's a little tighter, and notably calling attention to, or recommending, I should say, additional investigation actually on Homestead Avenue. Really quickly, as I said, that community connection piece was important. And And actually, the city's got a lot of great existing, bike and pedestrian infrastructure that this would tie into even more than what we're showing, but kind of focusing on some of maybe the bigger items, the potential destinations and trail linkages. So in this chapter, every community has a map and a legend to potential destinations and trail linkages that we would be recommending be built in addition to the greenway that are important. I'm flying through, but I am almost done. So wrapping up here, closing the gap, talking about costs and renderings. I'm not going to end this presentation talking about costs, so I'm going to start with that. What you see here is a breakdown by each town, community rather, and zooming in the middle, we've got Hartford. Of the segments that we're showing here, you've got a little less than 7 miles. Again, that's not including the Jomar Fuji Riverwalk piece. Your cost is just under 48 million for the entirety. I will draw your attention to the that Plainfield to Garden segment. This is from the Rail with Trail feasibility study. So again, we had done sort of cost magnitude estimates as part of that. That's kind of probably the most expensive segment that you could expect to have. So from a planning perspective, we're kind of putting in the worst case scenario here as far as costs are concerned. And that's what's really driving this number largely. That said, your average cost per mile is still just shy of 7 million per mile, which sounds like a lot, and it is, but it's not out of pocket with what a lot of trail work that's in Connecticut is going on right now. And again, I think that's going back to the fact that the easy stuff has been done and now we're just working on the harder stuff. And unfortunately, the harder stuff does cost a little bit more to do. And then if you're curious, I think we're looking combined for the entire project, for the entire alignment we identify. We're just shy, I think. We're about 17 miles, a total cost everywhere for 80 million, if you really wanted that big number. And then last to end on sort of the renderings, as we said, we want these to be design ready. And to do design, the city DOT, they may seek applications, some grant funding, what have you, to do that design piece. And sometimes pictures speak louder than words, right? So we've gotten some renderings in the document as well. Here's just an example of Myrtle Street. Here's a before, and then reclaiming some of that pavement, adding some landscaping. This could be the end product. If the city were to choose to go with Rail with Trail, that memo has a lot of really great renderings in it that you could also use. So you also have that at your fingertips as part of the study deliverables. That's pretty much it for me. I'm happy to take questions. Again, we're at the end, if you will, focusing on that municipal endorsement. We've already done Bloomfield and East Hartford. So we're just really excited to be here tonight and starting this conversation and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You're on mute. I'm not sure if you're.
Nope, you're right.
Okay.
Still coughing myself, so I'm gonna mute myself. Yeah, I did. I've gone to one of those presentation when you were here at the city at the library.
Oh,
So
great.
I have a little bit of aware of this presentation of the Greenway study. And I did watch your presentation from the July presentation to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I'm fascinating. I think it's great, to be honest. So it's just me. John, any questions?
Oh yeah, I've got lots. So Caitlin, appreciate
Oh,
you
boy.
keeping the any questions, comments, whatever. Caitlin, would you put back the main map?
Yes, I can. I'm glad I didn't stop sharing. Mostly I couldn't figure out how to stop sharing. Here we go. Yeah, I can leave it on with the segments, I suppose, just to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. And also let me just say hi to Ken Livingston, who hasn't said a word yet. But
I told him for interest of time, I would just take it. But if you have any hard questions, ask Ken.
No, I don't have any hard questions for him. I was going to ask him what the new name of FHI is because he's got it as his virtual background. But you mentioned it. It's IMEG, is it?
Yeah.
IMEG.
IMEG?
Yep. IMEG. Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't flow off the quite as easily as FHI, but anyway. You're still at 410 Asylum Street, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Excellent. So as the council chair said, I also love this. I think it's great. Couple of questions and a couple of comments. First question, you're showing like a couple of alternate routes, as I understand it, when you come across the Founders Bridge. That's the bridge we're coming across, right?
Right here.
And then one could go up to Riverfront to the boathouse, and then you would have to cross I-91. And many of us hate that I-91 pedestrian walkway that's over it. Is this current plan call for any redesign of that walkway?
So do you want to take that, Ken, or do you want me to? You go. You have
Well, no, I was actually going to defer maybe to Jeff Walker, because I think I don't want to overstep what the city's doing in another project or starting to. Maybe Jeff, or I can answer it.
So here's where I'm going to split hairs, and we'll get back to you. For the scope of work that's being presented here, I don't know if it's included in that. Are there other, when we discuss trails in general, yes, we all look at that footbridge and say that needs to be taken care of. I'd have to get back to you on whether it's part of the CCG scope or if it's part of some of the other trail work. But yeah, we all agree with you that should be replaced one way or another.
It's not part of the 48 million that Caitlin mentioned.
No,
that I can't confirm. I don't have the recall of exact, because there's a bunch of different projects that roll up into kind of the overall trail plan for the city. This being a critical piece of it. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Caitlin, I don't know if you guys know where that one fits in the various sources of funding.
I can give an update, knowing there's many moving parts. The city actually just issued and received bids for a design and review of the Riverlink project, which includes that I-91 pedestrian bridge. So there's a separate project being worked on between IQuilt.
That's right. Outside of this 48 million, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So.
Oh, no.
Lots of moving parts.
It's a complex project.
That's right, because this project is also overlapping much of the Hart Trail, I think it's called.
Heartline.
That iQuilt has presented to us in the past. So, it's good to see. It sounds as though everybody's sort of working in conjunction, and maybe that means more ability to get money from other sources than Hartford taxpayers. Ultimately, I don't know. Certainly, that would be appreciative. We didn't really discuss where the 48 million comes from. That's big. I don't think we're plopping it into this year's budget, but hopefully you all and iQuilt and others are going to be assisting in finding some additional funding to help pay for all this. Am I correct in that?
Typically, these projects, especially of this magnitude, often seek discretionary, competitive grant applications, federal or otherwise. Some communities are already going for the Deep Rec Trails funding that's out to advance some design work and even construction. So interestingly, what comes next in this process that's pretty new for DOT is this idea of a pitch meeting, where basically we as a council of government, having completed one of these studies, we're going to pitch the DOT what we think they should be working on, them specifically. It usually ends up being for these projects a combination of, the towns looking at advancing this segment, and we think this makes a lot of sense for DOT. As I said, they're very intrigued by this rail with trail proposal north of Albany Avenue. And it may look a little different. It may come over to Mark Twain off of Plainfield Street. But they're very interested in that. And that's DOT right of way within the rail corridor. So they would probably be the ones at least to lead that process. But our conversations with them and the city to date have been very much that the city needs to be at the table to make sure it gets constructed, aesthetically pleasing as well. Obviously with a huge emphasis on safety since you're in the rail corridor. But it's been a pretty positive conversation so far about that piece. So all of that to say is, depending on the segment, depending on the funding opportunities, we expect it to be, a variety of funding that comes to the table. And it will just be, as opportunities arrive, that's when, segments are going to get constructed in Hartford and in Bloomfield and East Hartford as well.
Caitlin, do you want to add the designation of the East Coast Greenway, which the DOT for funding of the municipal?
Yes, I meant to add that, and what Ken's referring to is DOT is very committed to completing the East Coast Greenway throughout the state, and they pretty much historically have, if there is a federal grant, so for example, if you're going to go for build funding, that usually requires a 20% non-federal match. The DOT has, for purposes of the Greenway, often, if not always at this point now, been stepping up to handle that match so the municipality does not. So that's a positive, I think for any of this, even within Keeney, that presents some potential to, bring additional funding into Keeney for improving the park that might not be the city's, which is always good.
Well, that all sounds very good. Sounds like, it's almost a no-brainer for the city to designate this as an East Coast Greenway, so that that helps the DOT look for this money. I love the fact that you have part of this trail going into Keeney Park in an area where I don't think anybody goes right now. It looks like it's kind of the old entrance to where the zoo was, and this is a part of Keeney Park that's just laid fallow with nobody being able to take advantage of it. So that would be great. I love, and have been a big advocate of the rail line. I love rail trails. I love them both, and I have not wanted to give up one for the other. Really thinking that someday some sort of a light rail through Bloomfield to downtown Hartford would be a really great thing. And I know right now the rail serves the Home Depot. I'm not sure we need to continue it for one customer. I would rather see us use it for, I don't want to diss Home Depot, but if we could serve Home Depot and serve a few commuters, I think that would be a great thing. And you guys probably know this, but I'll mention it anyway. I mean, the guy that owns that railroad made an offer at one point to do a demonstration on commuter use by bringing a self-propelled commuter car that could run along the existing track. And the total outlay for his demonstration was remarkably small. He said for $10,000 he could bring a car here that would have, I couldn't believe this, rental cost of $150 a month to rent the car once it was here, and then you would have operating expenses. So it certainly sounded to me like for a modest sum, $100,000, you could run a commuter line here for many months and just maybe even 6 months or a year and see whether anybody was interested in it. But anyway, I just want to throw that out there. As I said, I love the concept. I also have enjoyed these trails in many places and now see the economic development potential. Recent article on the Farmington Valley Trail, and I forget if it was in Southington or Plain. I think it's in Southington, where lots of economic development along the trail. Exactly what was anticipated, and if this were to help Hartford, what a great boon that is. So appreciate all of that, and I think, Madam Chair, that
does it for you. As I said,
takes care of my comments for the moment. Yes.
No, as I said, I've seen the presentation before when they came and did it at the Upper Albany. So I've always been in favor of it. Again, and I love the tool concept of you can either come down the railroad or you can, go up through Kinney Park. So I'm in favor of it. So if you would like to make a motion,
I move that we send this back to council with a favorable recommendation, Madam Chair.
I second it. Those in favor of
Aye.
it, well, aye. There's no nays, there's no objection. And so the ayes have it. This will be sent back to the city council with a favorable recommendation for approval of the Capital Region East Coast Greenway study. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you for staying with
council
us
members.
the whole
Really.
time. We know it was going to be a long meeting. We had a lot of items on the agenda. So thank you for your patience with us.
Well, thank you for your patience with the presentation as well. Really appreciate it.
Oh,
Thank
good
you.
job. Thank you. All right.
And good to see you,
Good
former
to see
city
you as well.
employee
I see some
Caitlin.
familiar faces, so.
That's right. And good
All
to see
right.
you, Ken. Say hi to everybody at FHI for me.
I shall. Good to see you.
All right. So we're going to move on. We got a couple more items and we should be finishing. So next item on the agenda is items 2.8. And that is confirming the appointment for a resolution, Mayor Aralampulam, confirming appointment of Brandon Best to the historic I cannot speak anymore. Preservation Commission. Is Mr. Brandon still with us, or did we lose him? And it was a long evening. I don't even know if he was here.
I don't think he was here.
Don't think he was
Madam
here?
Chair.
All right, so we're going to table his item until the next council meeting. But Michelle, you're here. So we're, then can I have a motion to table?
Yeah, I'll move to postpone the appointment of Brandon Best to next meeting of the PEDH committee.
Okay, thank you. Second, motion, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
We will postpone that appointment to the next council meeting. But we have Carrie Shea here, who's also Mayor Aralampulam recommending to confirm her appointment to the Historic Preservation Commission. She's gone from being an alternate to now a permanent position. So, Michelle, we have known you for a long time. So please tell us a little about yourself. And again, you were an alternate here in that commission, and so you're now going to a permanent position. So
Yes. Well,
I want to do this.
Thank you for considering this appointment. I currently serve as an alternate. As you say, I have done so for about 4 years. It's been a very interesting experience for me. I've learned quite a bit. I love serving on the Historic Preservation Commission. I'm particularly interested in historic preservation as a means to community revitalization. I think it's best when it's deployed in that way. I think that we do a pretty good job on the commission. I think we could do better in serving the people of Hartford by providing them with more assistance and more education around what's required in our historic preservation ordinance. So they're not coming to us, not really knowing what the commission wants and needs and how to achieve it. I've been working pretty closely recently with the head of planning to put together a proposal to the state for funding so that we can update the guidelines, which is essentially the handbook that folks who want to rehab buildings can use. And I've been working with Representative Rojas on a amendment to the historic homeowners tax credit that the state runs, which right now is only usable by homeowners of owner occupants of 1 to 4 unit buildings. We are proposing that the legislation be amended so that the program could serve property landlords who reside in Connecticut but are not necessarily owner occupants in low-income communities. Right now, the way the program is, they have $3 million a year. They only use about half of it each year. They've never met their cap ever. And we feel that these are dollars that are being left on the table that could serve neighborhoods like Frog Hollow, where I live, where the home ownership rate is only 7%, but we have over 600 historic buildings in the Frog Hollow National Historic District. And so I'm happy to be working. The commissioners who I work with, my fellow commissioners, are fantastic. And they're all interested, I think, in making the commission a little bit more proactive and user-friendly. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm retired from community development, so I have a lot of time. Some people feel a little too much time to devote to this, but I enjoy the work. I'm also a co-chair of the Frog Hollow NRZ and the founder of the Zion Hill, Friends of Zion Hill Cemetery.
Thank you, Ms. Shea. Again, we always, with a pleasure, and to ask people like yourself, and I thank you for being wanting to continue to serve the community and sit on these boards and commission. And with your knowledge base in real estate, you bring a lot to the table. So I want to thank you so very much for wanting to do this. And even though, being retired does not mean I think you're more busy more than anything else when you're retired, believe it or not. People find more boards and commissions to put you on. So,
I've fallen prey to that, yes.
exactly. So thank you so very much again to want to, to continue to work with work on behalf of the residents of the city.
Thank you,
Okay,
Madam Chair.
Councilman Gale, any comments, questions?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. Shea. Good to see you. As you're speaking, I'm recalling I had a group that a 7-member condominium on Buckingham Street in a property that was built in 1864.
Oh, wow.
And I don't recall exactly why, but they were somehow prohibited from applying for these tax credits. Think they wanted to, and I think they still do, perhaps need to do some brick pointing on the front of their townhouses and fix the cornice, maybe do some painting. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful building, but it's massively expensive, and these are very modest things. So I don't know if that's something that plays into the changes that you're looking to make to advocate for, but I would throw that out there as something, if it's not in there now, consider it, or for the future.
Yeah, I think that they were probably denied because they are a condominium, and right now, even though it is a homeowner program, the state does not include condominiums, and that's a bit of a problem. I know that John Cabral, the new director of housing, has raised this issue with the state. And I just, whenever there's a program that's undersubscribed, I think it's always a good idea to figure out how to open it up so it can be of service. I think by letting the small landlords in is one way. I think that opening it up to condominium owners. In both cases, though, I would underscore that that we start, if we are able to open it up a little bit more, that we open it up, but only in low-income census tracts, because I would hate to see that this money sort of fly off. It's a statewide program, and sort of fly off to fund projects that maybe aren't as crucial and won't have as big an impact.
No, I mean, it certainly makes sense. I know in this condo, I think a unit there just went for $120,000. In this day and age, this is not a high rent district.
Yeah, yeah.
So these are very affordable, but they can get overwhelmed by not having adequate reserves to take into account a project of that magnitude. Anyway, thank you for that. The other comment I would make is just, you have a lot of experience in this, and I know you come to this with both a lot of enthusiasm, but a degree of practicality. And I'm always arguing for a little common sense, a little practicality on some things, in some cases where uh, people can, commissions can maybe get a little carried away with their mission to the point where average people look at it and go like, well, what? You got to be kidding me. And a classic example came up recently that I brought to the attention of our planning director. And it was a concern, and I don't know if they're looking at the ordinance now to change it. I didn't think the ordinance said what he thought it said, but the example I gave him was that, I live in a historic home. I'm in a historic district. I have a front porch and front stairs that are wood, and the treads on my front stairs rot from time to time. And I go down to Home Depot and I buy another tread, and I put that tread, I replace the tread that's there with a new tread. Haven't changed a darn thing. And I was told that I was supposed to go to the Historic Commission before doing it. Frankly, I think that is carrying things to the absolute extreme. I find that a ridiculous statement that average people just would think is ridiculous. But I leave that at your doorstep. I would hope I don't ever have to come in front of the commission to replace a tread for a tread on my front porch.
And I would just say that there's the commission and then there's the work that's approved by staff. So really only about, I'd say less than 10% of all applications that are sent in to planning and zoning for historic review actually end up in front of the commission. Most of them are staff approval, and you're doing what we call an in-kind replacement. So quite often the staff approves something like that over the telephone for you. If you paint all sides of it and all cuts, you won't have to replace it every year or every few years. It'll last a lot longer. That's advice on that. Prime all 6 sides of it.
Thank you.
You got some free advice there, Councilman.
With that, I'll move to send this back with a favorable recommendation.
I second that. I don't think we have any discussions or any questions. Those in favor of sending back favorable recommendation for Ms. Shea to be appointed a permanent member of the Historic Preservation Commission. Those in favor?
Aye.
Well, there's no against or abstention. This items will be sent back. The ayes have it. Items will be sent back favorably to the council with a favorable recommendation to appoint you as a permanent member of the Historic Preservation Commission. Congratulations, Michelle, and thank you for continuing to give back to the city.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, well, we have one more item on the agenda.
Madam Chair, I see Brandon Best has joined the.
They did where? Oh, there. Yes.
Apparently, I see that name here.
I see the name too. Now, Brandon was going to be replacing Michelle as the alternate on the commission. Brandon, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay, awesome. I know it's been a long meeting. We just had so many items, some different council meetings to address. Are you willing to, we do have your, John, did you get his resume? We do have that information.
Yep.
Well, but we did vote to postpone it, so do we vote to bring it back on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, well then motion to bring it back on the agenda now that Brandon is here.
I second that and say aye to it.
Aye, okay. Brandon, you're back on our agenda to be appointed to the as the alternate member to the Historic Preservation Commission. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why do you want to do this?
Sure. So I'm a Hartford resident, born and raised, come from a couple generations of Hartford residents. I've been working in the Hartford area in and around real estate with a couple investment groups And personally, I do some investing in the Frog Hollow area, and historic preservation has always been adjacent and sort of in the background of my world. Prior to starting in business, I actually did some work in architecture as an intern and in some undergraduate studies, and have always had an interest for the field. And I was asked if I had an interest in participating in the Historic Preservation Commission. I was very excited by the opportunity and thought, why not get more involved at this level and uh, learn more about what this world is about.
Awesome. Welcome. Thank you. One of the things I commend our residents is for them to step up to the plate and actively get involved in the boards and commission, because that also, helps maintain the city and keep us on track. So I want to thank you so very much. I always thank anyone who volunteers to be on boards and commission. I want to thank you for doing so. And looking at your resume, you're going to be replacing Michelle as an alternate, and she just stated that, being an alternate on the commission, she learned so much. So this is really give you a great opportunity as an alternate to actually see what the Historic Preservation Commission actually really do. One thing just heard Councilman Gill talked about, sometimes using common sense, also. I know the rules and regulations says historic, you can't do this. He talked about his steers, and I'm like, we have to also use some common sense when we make decisions that affect some of the old buildings in our city. So just ask you to be cognizant of that when you're making decisions.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and I appreciate that guidance.
Thank you. Councilman Gale.
Yeah, I don't know, Mr. Best, as Council President said, thank you for, stepping up and volunteering your time on this very important commission. Were you online and listening when we were talking with Ms. Shea?
I caught the tail end of it.
Okay, well, that's the only part of it that I care about when I asked her to make sure she considers a little practicality on things. And Council President just reiterated it, so you have two of us saying the same thing. So I have no other comments, Madam Chair.
Okay, then I'm open for a motion.
Well, I'll move that we send the nomination of Mr. Best back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Second, and we're both and those in favor. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the ayes have it. We'll be sending back to the council overall positive favorable recommendation for appointing Mr. Best to the Historical Preservation Commission. I'm sorry. Mr. Best, congratulations. And again, thank you very much for wanting to serve the residents of the city.
Great. Thank you all. I look forward to serving.
Yeah, we're looking forward to listening to one of your meetings in the future. Okay, we have one last item on the agenda, and that says items 2.12. It's a resolution from Mayor Rulampalum authorizing the sale of 10 Albany Avenue, 18 Albany Avenue, 1441 Main Street to the Hartford Foundation of Giving. And that was item 8.1 in December 6, 2025 agenda. There was a public hearing on this item on Monday, December 15th at 7 p.m. Do we have anyone from the administration who wants to present on this item? Mr. Benjamin, you're still with us. Wonderful.
I am. Good evening again.
Good evening, sir.
So Jack Benjamin, Director of Economic Development. So we did an acquisition item earlier, and this is for disposition. This concerns 3 parcels, 10 Albany Ave, 18 Albany Ave, and 1441 Main Street, from the city of Hartford to the Hartford Foundation of Public Giving. At this point, the plans for this project are conceptual. I have Jay Williams, the CEO of the foundation, and Joya Zach from Goman and York, who will give a presentation momentarily on this project. The gist of this resolution is it's written to sell the properties for no less than $100,000. What needs to happen essentially before we dispose of the properties is to get them appraised and to get some environmental assessment work done that comes up with a cleanup price. So the no less than $100,000 sale price is the critical part. But what will happen is we're going to take that appraisal price and less out the cost of cleanup. And should that happen to be a greater number, greater figure than $100,000, then that's what we'll settle on and have agreed to sell to the foundation. But for no less than $100,000, we move these three properties. They're on the corner of Main and Albany Ave, as I'm sure you're familiar with. They have sat vacant for quite some time. The city took them via tax foreclosure in 2021, and we were presented with this fantastic proposal from the Hartford Foundation to redevelop this site. The Hartford Foundation does wonderful work, especially serves a lot of folks in the North End and works with a lot of the other nonprofits in the North End. So this makes sense geographically for them. And again, they've put together a fantastic proposal for this site, and it's a project that we in Development Services are really excited about. So I believe that the presentation tonight is going to be coming from Joya Zach at Goman and York. And I had discussed with Naisha McCauley earlier about making sure that we had screen sharing permissions given to Ms. Zach.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Before we go to that, I was looking at the term sheet that came over. Now you said so the appraisal for the land has not been done as yet. Is that correct? Looking at
Correct.
the term sheet, and then also you don't have any estimate of any remedial cleanup cost?
There have been assessments done, but we don't have a cleanup estimate yet.
So what I'm reading in the term sheet, so if the cleanup costs and the assessed value, if it's less than 100,000, you're just gonna sell the sale of the property will be for 100,000.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure I understand that. And that included all three portions, all three. I'm looking at the term sheet that was sent over. Bear with me because this came over this evening. Now you said you had 180 days to do the financing, all the appraisal, the remedial estimate, all that is going to be done in 180 days.
Yeah, that's the proposed time frame.
As I keep looking through the term sheet, Councilman Gail, do you have any questions?
I may have lots of questions, but I want to wait till I see the
Okay, went to the
presentation.
presentation. All right.
Yeah.
And then that'll give me a chance to finish looking through the term sheet. Okay. Thank you. And again, Mr. Williams, and Ms. Jack and everyone else. Thank you for bearing with us. It's been a long evening. I know we had a lot of items on the agenda because we have had a couple of council meetings and no committee meetings. So thank you for bearing with us for, until we get to your item. So the floor is yours.
Thank you for having us, to the council members and to the attendees. If I can share my screen, I will, let me know when you can see the screen.
Sure.
We got something.
Coming up?
There you go.
All right, well, thank you. So as has been explained by Jack Benjamin, we certainly appreciate the opportunity to share here. The Hartford Foundation, we have engaged Goman and York to assist us throughout this project for the past couple of years. And as you are hopefully aware, on December 5th, we unveiled public plans to construct more than just a headquarters, but a facility that we firmly believe will be a hub for nonprofit activity, for convening, for training, and also an asset that would be able to be used by the various neighborhood groups. We also intend and hope for this to be a catalytic investment in the north end of Hartford to spur additional investment and development to add to the momentum that is occurred here. And I can say that I've been here 8 years, and over the course of those 8 years have seen significant improvement on Albany Avenue, state investment, city investment, small business activity, and we're excited to be a part of that. This really starts and is rooted in our commitment to Hartford. 100 years we have served Hartford and the 28 surrounding communities. As we thought about making this announcement, we were very intentional about wanting to remain in the city of Hartford, and not just in the city of Hartford, but in an area that had a high degree of visibility, an area that was very accessible, an area that we felt we could come in and be a partner to those organizations that have been working for many, many years. We also engaged the residents, the neighborhoods, the nonprofits, specifically the nonprofits, including the Clay Arsenal NRZ, to make sure that we weren't seen as just coming in as an interloper, right? So yes, we're a foundation. We are very well resourced as a result of the generosity of donors from across the region, thousands and thousands of donors over this course of those 100 years. But we also understand the importance of humility and being a good corporate citizen. So prior to any public announcement, we engaged the NRZ and spoke to some of the public officials to make sure that we were going about this in the right way. Part of that is reflective of what Jack said in terms of purchasing these parcels from the city of Hartford. We're not asking for any financial participation from the city of Hartford. We are committed to meeting the MBE, WBE diversity goals, city resident participation of this project. And this is going to be a project that is completely funded by the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, or as we also announced, soon to be known as the Greater Hartford Gives Foundation. So with that, just wanted to share a couple of slides. This is an intersection that obviously is very familiar to all of you. And then this first slide, it shows the parcels that the foundation has under some sort of agreement. Parcels 3 through 9, and specifically the parcels that are owned by the city that we are aspiring to go through the processes are parcels 7, 8, and 9, which would be very key parcels that front both Albany, 7 fronts both Albany and Main Street, but they make up what is described as sort of a slice of pie that give high visibility. So we have identified 3 through 9 as the critical parcels. These are the minimum parcels that would be needed to construct a project. But as I indicated just a few minutes ago, we have aspirations that go beyond just this particular building, that make sure that we have adequate parking, that make sure we have adequate space for activities that will involve guests coming in to this facility, specifically training with nonprofits and convening of neighborhood groups. And also we host both statewide and national guests. And we're happy and excited to be able to bring them into the city of Hartford in this gateway that has a lot of activity going on. So the next slide shows you parcels that, in addition to 3 through 9, parcels that we are also actively in discussions and negotiations with those parcel owners. So 1, 2, and 10 are the additional 3 parcels that weren't on a previous slide. And we are, I think, close to agreements on the additional parcels, specifically 2 and 10. Those owners have indicated a willingness to come to terms with us. The agreements aren't signed yet, but 2 is very close, and 10 is in the process. Parcel number 1, we are interested in if it is ultimately available, and we see that as an additional point of access off of Belden Street. Currently, that is a long time dilapidated 2 or 3 family structure that we're not quite sure. We're working with the city to understand, is it ultimately going to be rehabbed or have permits been pulled? So it has been in that state for a number of years. If ultimately that parcel is available, we would be interested, again, to provide additional access. So you would see that ultimately that would take us up Main Street next door to the fire station, and up Albany next door to an existing apartment. And in addition to, I said, the building, the convening space, we want to make sure that there's space that would provide green space. We had talked with some of the council members about having the space to provide access to things such as the mobile clinics that the city often runs, or food lockers, or things like that, things that would benefit the residents in the neighborhood and the small businesses in the neighborhood more than just us having our office there. So just to show you the final slide, again, this is just a conceptual rendering of what the building could look like. As you see, we want it to be very prominently featured as individuals enter into the north end of Hartford, a gateway project. And that term has been used by existing nonprofits and partners there. And we certainly want to be a part of adopting that as a gateway, entering into the north end of Hartford, spurring additional development, really speaking to our commitment to the city, to the quality of life that exists, to those who have worked historically to continue to make the North End a place that people feel comfortable in, that people understand the rich history that's been a part of that. And I'll end by saying we're excited about some of the conversations, not just about the building, about telling the story of the history in and around the building, making sure that the artistic creativity that is present in Hartford and specifically in the North End is also reflected in the building in some unique way that really speaks to us being a neighbor and a part of the fabric of the city of Hartford and more specifically the North End. So I will stop sharing here and be happy to, if there's anything I missed, to ask Joy Zach to, again, who is helping us to navigate the technical parts of this as we go through the city processes, knowing that we have every expectation to meet the requirements and the demands that are come part and parcel with developing in this city. We're not taking anything for granted. So, Joy, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that, and then we'll open it up for questions.
No, I think you covered it well, and I'm really here tonight to show support. So,
thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so very much for your presentation, Mr. Williams. And again, thank you for bearing with us. It was a long evening. Councilman Gale.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And let me first acknowledge I see Bonnie Malley on the screen. And hi, Bonnie. Long time. But glad there you are.
Councilman Gale. So nice to see you in my different capacity.
Yes. So anyway, very exciting. And Mr. Williams, Ms. Zach, I believe, well, certainly Mr. Williams, you heard my comments once before, but I'll make them again tonight for the purpose of anybody who's hung on there out in the public and is still listening to us, but mostly for your purposes as well, because I really hope that this is internalized. I hope I'm speaking to the choir, but it's certainly worth mentioning. The city has done a fantastic job. Bonnie Malley was part of some of this early development in getting all this fallow land that was north of Church Street now has multiple buildings on it. A baseball stadium. We have the apartments on the east side, and now almost complete. Dono North on the west side, and now the Arrowhead development, and all of that is part and parcel of a plan to rebuild the city, to take what and you heard me earlier tonight talk about how parking lots are the absolute death of a community and the bane of our existence. And these set of parking lots there absolutely cut off North Hartford from downtown and cut off development. And so, just from my perspective anyway, I think it's been a wonderful development. And now watching Arrowhead, and I think the natural progression of all of this is absolutely designed to have it now start marching across Albany Avenue and across North Main Street, and start to move into Clay Arsenal to take, in your case, some of the vacant lots that are there and to build on them. And so in keeping with that, I want to make sure that you all keep in mind in the development of your building that it has to communicate with the street. The worst case example of development I can think of occurred with the state of Connecticut Department of Housing on Hudson Street, where they built this tower for their offices, and they set it back from both Park Street and Hudson Street with parking lot in front of it, and it just absolutely creates a wasteland. And it deters what we're trying to create. We're trying to create a walking environment. So, I would hope that you keep that in mind. I was happy to hear you talk about the multiple uses you plan for this building. Maybe some of those uses can have doors that open onto Main Street, so that when people walk by, I mean, I don't know, a community room that you can actually walk into, it helps with that concept that I'm calling communicating with the street. And by the same token, I also hope that the wings of the building, next to them, I hope we don't see parking lots on Main Street. I mean, driveways I understand, but hopefully you're able to push most of the parking behind or underneath. You can bury parking, you can stack parking, but putting it on Main Street or putting it on Albany Avenue, to me, just not the best plan. And I think if as you guys do your development with Dono and Arrowhead doing their developments, my goal is that everybody starts to look across the street where we've got this wonderful underused Keeney Tower that could just be this magnificent public space, a square. And next to it, we've got this vacant land, and then you've got I don't want to call it you've got development on North Main Street that doesn't communicate with North Main Street. It's set way back, and there's vacant land in the front. That land needs to be developed and needs to start to fill it. I'm probably talking about stuff that's going to come to fruition long after I'm no longer around, but I'm happy to throw the ideas out and promote them, and hope that you will as well. So no particular questions. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Well, Councilman, your comments are well received. You may or may not be aware, in a previous life, I was a mayor of the city of Youngstown, Ohio, so I understand acutely the bane of parking lots and barren lots, particularly in your downtown central business district and in the neighborhood. So, to that extent, you even see the concept of building being pushed as close to the street as possible. We are going to obviously have to navigate the logistics of the rail tunnel that runs under the tip of that parcel, the other logistics. But we very much tend for this to be a building that communicates with the street. Accessibility, I am not an architect, but lots of glass and transparency that really shows the activities that are occurring for the people in the building, being able to see out into the street the activities, and the people in the street to appropriately be able to see that this is a building full of life. And right, we are going to be very thoughtful about parking, and have to be pragmatic. We'd love to be able to say there's underground parking, but at $80,000 or $90,000 per space, not pragmatic. However, we are going to push and challenge the designers and the architects to ensure that there is adequate parking that is not a sea of parking lots fronting Main and Albany, which is also why we have from the very beginning sought to acquire additional parcels immediately adjacent to this, as going to the slide that I showed that showed 10 parcels that are on our target to acquire. So with the momentum and success we've experienced, I think that we will be able to acquire those parcels. And as other parcels may become available, we have shared with our board that our goal is to be in a position to acquire those parcels for good, for the purpose of making good on the aesthetics of the area, the practicality of the area of, again, not having what we hope will be a great building that is flanked by parking lots. So the landscaping, the lighting, the presentation of the building are all things that we are very cognizant of, in addition to being sensitive and aware of the plans that have existed for the past 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And that's what we heard from the Clay Arsenal, that they were thrilled that the larger vision they had, the Arrowhead Gateway vision, that this is consistent with that. So we are also going to be respectful of that as we move forward.
I note that it appears that your plans will call for removing several existing buildings. And I would imagine that these buildings are, I don't know what historic value they may have, but I would imagine they absolutely must be old buildings. Have we discussed any plans? Is there any, are we thinking that some of these might be saved and moved somewhere?
We are going to navigate the historic, so we have already started the process of engaging the Historic Preservation Commission to have those conversations.
And you have one of the future alternate is still listed tonight.
Absolutely. So the buildings are unlikely. Again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but there are some of the buildings that are going to be demolished. Some of them are abandoned and have structural deficiencies. In fact, two of them we know based on the conversations we've had with the owners who have agreed to sell these buildings to us, that part of the reason that they were abandoned is because of obsolescence and structural deficiency. So other buildings, again, we're going to have the conversation with the Historic Preservation Commission. There is minimal displacement. So again, we're sensitive to all that. So for the minimal relocation, I should say, that would occur, the Hartford Foundation has prepared and has the resources available to assist the minimal relocation that may need to occur. But in terms of buildings being relocated, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I not necessarily thinking that would be the case. But again, we're going to engage the Historic Preservation Commission, be very diligent and very pragmatic. And at the end of the day, want this to be a net benefit to the region.
I'll leave with one last comment that is a bit of an anecdote. My father grew up on a street in Hartford called Kennedy Street. It no longer exists. It was almost across the street from where you're building. So as you go up North Main Street, there were 4 streets there: Kennedy, Avon, Russell Court, and Canton Street. And all of these streets had tenement housing. My father grew up in an apartment where they had no toilet in their apartment. You had a shared toilet out in the hallway. We're talking the 1920s Hartford. And the kids in his neighborhood, many of them picked up additional money by delivering newspapers. It was a big deal back then. Everybody wanted a newspaper. Well, the newspapers all came to Union Station. Well, my father told me the only way you got to Union Station was through that tunnel you mentioned earlier. And that was, a means of travel that was utilized by all the neighborhood folks, because the railroad station was a big deal. Union Place was a big deal back in the 20s and 30s. So as you develop this, who knows, maybe at some future time that tunnel could become, a little bit more integrated into the lifeblood of the. We could have a rail to trail in the tunnel there, and do the Birmingham, Alabama thing where they took all their railroad bridges and put multicolored LED lights in them. And now it's a big tourist attraction. People go and just sit in their cars outside the tunnel to watch the LED lights at night. Anyway, thank you for the presentation. Good luck with it, Madam Chair. I move to send this back with a favorable recommendation.
Second, Councilman Gailey, you're dating yourself when you start talking about the tunnel.
Yeah,
okay.
Well,
I'm not going to
there was
date
the store
myself.
there forever called the tunnel.
I am not dating myself at all. As a matter of fact, one of the things I did, when hearing about this yesterday at the public hearing, is that, first of all, I second the motion, and I'm open for, and this is discussion now. Is I called up Steve Harris. If everybody knows who Steve Harris is, he always talks about the 06120.
Yeah.
And he reminded me of that, the tunnel. And he reminded me that that area right there, that was what back in the days, they used to call Bumps Park. So I'm getting some history lesson here as I talk to the residents, who's been around a long time, and finding out, what their concept is and what they thought about the proposal. And he shared with me that, there's not been any major construction, in the 06120 zip code in decades. And so he looks forward to making sure, this works. he will come down to the next public comment and testify in support of this, because this is something which they have not, North Hartford have not seen in decades. So this is a major thank you. A lot of all the residents I've talked to, they're excited. They're totally excited. And let me say to the Hartford Foundation, just a little bit about, John talked about his parents. I'm going to say that, you know, my family made Hartford our new home when we came from Jamaica. And I have not seen in the many decades I've lived in North Hartford any several years now economic development like this. This, I believe, is going to change the perception of North Hartford, and it is going to spur so much more additional economic development. You know, the old saying, once you start, they will follow. And so the foundation starting this is certainly going to spur economic development in North Hartford. So I want to thank the foundation for building their building at the entrance to North Hartford. As you leave the city, how beautiful it is when you come into the city, when they built the convention center downtown. How beautiful it is to come down Albany Avenue, Route 44, and leaving the city and see such a beautiful development for North Hartford. So thank you, the foundation, for considering, building a building for yourselves right here in the city, and also, giving us such pride back for North Hartford, I would say, for myself personally. One other thing, which I just want to make sure, is that, John, when we second the motion to send this back favorably, unfortunately, this may not have to approve at the first council meeting, because the A24 review from the planning and zoning, their meeting won't happen until the day after our first council meeting. So I'm not quite sure, Mr. Williams, pushing this back to the second council meeting, how does that work with your plan?
That's fine. No, we were aware of the planning and zoning, and we saw that they deferred it to a date that would then push it to the second council meeting. So that is perfectly fine. We will continue all the work that we need to do behind the scenes and the other activities that we would engage in. So the second council meeting, which I'm assuming is the third or fourth weekend of January,
yes,
we would be just fine.
That's okay. And that works for you, Mr. Benjamin, from the DDS perspective?
Yeah, we've anticipated this timeline the whole time.
Okay. Just want to make sure we get it. So the motion has been made and properly second to favorably send back to the overall council favorable recommendation in approving and authorizing the sale of 110 Albany Avenue, 18 Albany Avenue, and 1441 Main Street to the Hartford Foundation of Public Giving. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Well, there's
Thank
only
you.
2 of us. So the motion is passed and favorably going to be sent back to the city council. Congratulations, Mr. Williams, and all your staff with the foundation. The only thing I will not be voting on is your new name, though. Okay.
We did say it would have to grow on some folks, Council President. So we'll
You're always going to be the
grow on.
Hartford Foundation to us. I don't care what you call yourselves.
Exactly.
It's like the Civic Center is the Civic Center.
We get it. We get it. We get it.
I said to somebody the other day, going down to the people, and the what? The who? Nobody knows what the hell the people, I was like, so yeah, Civic Center. But seeing that this the last item on our agenda, we have nothing further to take up on the agenda. The meeting is adjourned. I want everyone to have a happy holidays and be safe. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.